If you've been coming to church for a while, year over year, you might have noticed that this time of year especially, we start hearing the beginning of what our presiding Bishop Michael Curry calls the Jesus movement. That is how it all got started with those first disciples. Next week we'll hear one story. This week we get John. And what's unique about John is, one, the disciples come after Jesus. He doesn't call them first. And the second thing is an interesting question, maybe a little unnerving. What are you looking for? And then a quite open invitation to come and see. And they did. That question and that invitation have invited this interim rector of yours to ask it of us as we look forward to a new beginning and to a new call of a rector. What are we looking for? Might be tempting to finish that with, in a new rector, but I hope we know that's the very end of the conversation. No. What are we looking for in us? What kind of church are we looking to be? If someone came looking for Jesus here, what would we want them to find? If we're going to wait to answer that question until a new rector shows up, I don't think we will have used this interim time well. So what are we looking for? What are we looking to be in this church of St. Simon's? Now, I've been with you for a few months now, and I've heard some answers to that question. Let me try some of them out on you. St. Simon's is looking to be a church that not only welcomes, but affirms LGBTQ people as full and active members of the church that this church needs. Even more, this church wants to welcome, not just welcome, and affirm all other sorts of differences that have been excluded for whatever reason, whether because of cultural heritage or language or ability or color. This church is looking to be a church where all those differences are recognized as they are, as part of the glorious image of God. St. Simon's is looking to be a church that feeds the hungry and shelters those with no home. St. Simon's is looking to be a church that lives lightly upon the land, that cares for creation. St. Simon's is looking to be a church that allows those who gather here to explore their relationship with God and others in such a way that the questions are at least as important as any answers that we give. In fact, sometimes maybe the questions are more important than those answers. Does that sound like the kind of church that St. Simon's is looking to be? If it is, then what might Jesus be inviting us to come and see so we can sharpen that vision, so we can see it more broadly? To what might Jesus be leading us? St. Simon's wants to be a place that affirms all our differences. Come and see, Jesus might say, what it's like to be a transgender teen at a local high school. Come and see, Jesus might be saying, what it's like to feel like you're the only Muslim in your community or in your workplace, especially when you came from a country where many people shared your faith. If you have experienced exclusion because of a difference you bear, come and see, Jesus might say, what it's like to belong to a community where all of you is welcomed and affirmed as an expression of the glorious splendor of God. St. Simon's wants to be a place, looks to be a church that feeds and shelters. Come and see, Jesus might say, what it's like to be poor or out of work in an area that's surrounded by a lot of wealth, and wonder if it's your fault, even though it's not. Come and see, Jesus might be saying, what it's like to work at serving food to people in restaurants or at a grocery store, but not be able to make enough money to feed yourself or your family. St. Simon's longs to be a church, looks to be a church that cares for the earth and shows others how to do it. Come and see, Jesus might be saying, what it's like to live in a place where the air is so polluted with coal ash that it's hard to breathe, or where the water that comes from the tap has lead in it, so it's not safe for children to drink. St. Simon's looks to be a church that welcomes questions, maybe even above answers. Come and see, Jesus might say, what it's like to have questions that no one wants to hear, because the question itself disrupts all the certainties that we've clung to in our lives. What are you looking for? Come and see. There might be just a little bit more to that question and that invitation than we might expect. To really engage it is to allow our vision to be sharpened in a new way, to allow ourselves to become uncomfortable, to acknowledge the things that we don't really know, to acknowledge mistakes we've made in the past, times we've been wrong. It might even mean risking making more mistakes as we live into that vision that Jesus is offering us. If we come and see, we might have to change our lenses, throw away some eyeglasses, take off some blinders. We might have to look at things in a brand new way, or be willing to see things that have been sitting right in front of us all along, but we've just refused to look at. That is part and parcel of following Jesus. And those disciples that began that movement learned it pretty quickly once you start reading the gospel. They had to change their minds, their visions, their hearts. That is part of following Jesus, but not all of it. I hope you're not feeling discouraged. But if you ever feel discouraged by all of that, I do sometimes too. And what helps me is to remember why I am following Jesus. And we're fortunate that tomorrow is our celebration of the birthday of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Because the reason I want to follow Jesus is because of the dream that he cast and the beloved community that he imagined. I want to be a part of that. And I know that the path to that vision, the reign of God that we all hope for, goes straight through all of those things that need to change in me. That I need to come and see, so Jesus can free me from whatever privilege or presupposition, whatever certainties or the way things have always been, are holding me back from joining that beloved community. And I imagine that that path is different for all of us, depending on where we come from. And yet, I'm pretty sure it is a part of following Jesus. And so, St. Simon, what is it that you're looking for? What church do we long to be? What vision of the beloved community could be here at St. Simon's? Come and see. I hear Jesus inviting us. And his voice is full of promise of a vision that as yet unrevealed.